And we have Elizabeth Coronel, Lucine Sarkassian, and Tracy Montez here. So ladies.
And Trisha St. Clair.
Okay. We're on.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. Myself, Elizabeth Coronel, Lucine Sarkassian, and Trisha St. Clair. So that's our names up there. Our role today as a facilitator, we're a neutral party. We are here to provide structure for the strategic planning to help you develop your strategic plan and document the discussion. So you'll see one of us here facilitating while the other one is documenting the objectives that you're all building. So we recommend some ground rules. Minimize distractions. So if you can please put your phones away. If you do get a call, you can go ahead and step outside and take a call or send a message. And please please participate to help develop the strategic plan together and respect contributions. We all have different perspectives. We all have different ideas, but all of the different diverse minds help develop a more comprehensive plan. So please be respectful of each other's contributions and be willing to reach consensus. Again, we all have diverse thinking and perspectives, experiences, being able to come together and reach a consensus to build a solid plan. And the agenda for today will be reviewing the strategic planning process really quickly. We will then review the sources that you have available to you so you can develop objectives for your next strategic plan. And I did want to review really quickly some of the Department of Finance strategic planning requirements that were deficient in the latest audit. Action planning, and this is in regards to strategic planning. Action planning performance measures, those are all offered after the strategic planning process, after the strategic plan has been adopted in the board meeting. We offer action planning to the client. We will offer it to Lynn. In this process, we establish tasks, responsible parties, or job titles, deadlines, and performance measures. So that's all within the action plan, and that is done by the EO and the staff. And then we provide with a tracking and monitoring Excel document where you can actually check the progress of each objective and each task as they go along. So the next items. So strategic planning. Where are we in, or where are you now, the board? That is indicated by your mission, by your values, and the environmental scan that you have in front of you. Where are you all going? That's your vision, your goals, and the objectives that you develop today. And how will you all get there? You'll get there through the action plan that will be developed at a later time with the executive officer and staff. So here's a glimpse of the strategic planning roadmap. First, we did the preliminary meeting and the setup, defined the process, the roles with the executive officer. We did the environmental scan in which we requested feedback in regards to the board's performance internally, strengths and weaknesses, and externally, the environment in which it operates in, which is the opportunities and the threats. We requested feedback from external stakeholders, which were educational institutions, from staff internally, and from board members. We composed this environmental scan again, which you have in front of you, and which contains all of the data that we did receive. And today is the planning session, the strategic planning session. We will review the sources, the environmental scan, and establish objectives. And moving forward, we will draft a plan of the objectives that you develop today. We'll provide it to the client, to the EO, and you can approve that in your next board meeting. If we don't complete it, that would be the part 2 of the planning session, next board meeting. And after the plan has been completed, we'll do action planning, or we will offer action planning as well. And very quickly, again, the SWOT analysis, what we used to obtain feedback. We requested strengths and weaknesses internally in the board's performance, opportunities and threats, the environment in which the board performs in. So you want to capitalize definitely on those strengths and opportunities and mitigate those weaknesses and threats. So objectives hopefully will represent any improvements that you'd want to make in the weaknesses or any threats that you'll try to mitigate. And your resources today, number one is yourself. You're an expert of either the field or for the consumer. And you have a worksheet that hopefully you received previously, and you may have drafted some objectives already. You have the environmental scan in front of you, and if you want to consider the previous strategic plan, you can do so as well. And the roles and responsibilities. So the board members today, as you develop the strategic plan, that is the strategic direction of your board is pretty much dependent on the objectives that you develop today. I'd like to remind you that consumer protection is the mandate of the board. And next step would be the staff and EO. They're responsible for actually putting the plan into action through an action plan. And also please keep in mind limited resources and time. So we're going to go over the 7 goal areas today, hopefully, whatever we can get to. So we have workforce, professional qualifications and education, legislation, regulation, and policy, communication and outreach, enforcement, licensing, and administration. We'll go in this order. And as we're developing objectives today, please keep in mind objectives should be SMART. And what I mean by SMART is specific, detailing what exactly needs to be done. The board members, as you're developing them, the strategic plan will be put into action by the EO and the staff. So please indicate clear direction of what exactly it is that you want to be done. Measurable, something that can be within the objective, indicate what success can be from it, how they're going to measure it. You definitely want an objective that will yield positive or effective results. Action oriented, use action words. So what again goes back to the specific. What is it that you want them to do? Develop a workbook or a procedure manual. Research a certain topic. At the last page of your workbook, you should have a list of all action or a few action words that can help you develop these objectives. Be realistic, possible to attain objectives that you can actually complete. And lastly, time-based. Please indicate a clear time frame if it's something that is an immediate issue, or if there's no time frame indicated, it will just default back to the strategic plan's term. And here's an example, something that is actionable. The first objective, create. You want the board to create an expert witness manual that's specific for subject matter experts and indicate a reason for them to understand, which can also help with the success measure to increase effectiveness of reports, and that is something that can be measured as well. We can move forward. So let's start with workforce. The goal is to address and promote physician assistant workforce needs. The environmental scan on page 7 should contain the feedback that we received. And we will give you 5 minutes unless you are ready with some objectives that you'd like to suggest. Okay, I can pass. Yes, it's that one. Previously emailed out with a worksheet. Not at the moment. Yes. Which one? This one right here. Yeah. So the environmental scan should have been emailed to you a week or two before that, today actually, containing pretty much the environmental scan. We also sent out a worksheet that looks like this, where you can draft some objectives based on what you saw in the environmental scan. So we'll allow you about 5 minutes to kind of skim through that and start drafting some objectives. And when you're ready, we can start typing up any ideas or any objectives. Yes.
One thing I think would be helpful is to suggest as an action item support of OTP, and the benefit would be mitigating barriers to hiring PAs.
Okay.
And so that would increase
Yeah, definitely. Whatever you would like to develop as an objective. And if you can repeat that a bit slowly, sorry.
Action item would be suggest.
Okay.
The goal would be support OTP.
Hmm.
Optimal team practice. This is for your application. And it would be, the benefit would be to increase the ability, increase the workforce and mitigate barriers to hiring PAs. So mitigate the barriers to hiring PAs.
And we will definitely go in there and spell out the full words. Any feedback from any of the other board members? And
Just support, yeah.
would you like me to dim the lights? Can you see that up there? Yes, dim the lights. Thank you. So we definitely we can get feedback from any other board members in regards to this specific objective, whether you'd like to suggest any refinement in the wording, in the purpose, ask for any clarification. Yes.
I see one of the weaknesses they've shown for our board is they want to decrease the amount of time to issue a license to a new graduate. How could we address that, people? I mean, what do they want, like, to graduate and the next day have a license? I mean, what is our current time,
21 days.
turnaround?
21 days. Well, you can check that off. You already done that. You went from 30
Yeah.
to 21
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
Right? So we're already done.
Can we put that on there?
I'm sorry?
Well, you just,
Now, then we met it. Then we're done.
And there's also, if you'd like to put it as an outreach, if it's something that they don't know or they need education on, that could also be added in outreach.
Okay, why don't we do that?
Yeah, I like
We
that
wanna
idea.
inform them of our current turnaround time.
Okay.
21 days.
We went to Stanford and did it.
Yeah.
And did it. And part of the problem is that the new graduates are applying 3 months before they graduate. And then it's taking 3 months to get their license.
Yeah, because they have to graduate first before
Right.
they get it. So maybe we need to tell the schools, to tell them, even if you're applying 3 months before, this,
Well, the school should already
Yeah.
know because it's in their RCA
set
guidelines
realistic
that they can't.
expectations.
Okay.
They're not supposed to apply
So
until
inform
after they have
graduate
graduation.
students and applicants about licensing timeframes.
Told that we needed them to get their application started, so that,
so maybe we need to adjust that.
well, I think we do, because
Yeah.
I agree with what you're saying, because what's happened is, in the audit, we got dinged for applications that were taking 4 and 5 months when they weren't really ready to even apply. But we told them, get your application started, so at least it's in Sacramento and the process is started.
That
Little
was-
did we know that we created a massive problem for our licensing.
And does this objective address the issue?
What about making it broader, where it's educate graduate students and applicants about licensing process, and then your action item would be specific to the time frames? Just it sounds a little bit more, a little broader, and then do educate versus inform, because inform is just like telling them, but it's more of a outreach
educate. There needs to
process.
be an outreach. Educate, perform outreach, I don't know.
Okay, so educate graduate students and applicants about licensing process, set realistic expectations. To set, yeah.
Now I have another one, again, on this weakness.
Okay.
Some members of the board do not seem to have a clear understanding of the intricacies of the PA practice. Maybe they need to be informed that some of the members on this board are public members and are not part of the PA practice. That's why there's a combination of public and of PA practitioners. And that's why when we have issues that need to have input from a PA specifically, as you can see, we defer to the PAs on our board and ask them to provide those details and to apply it to the actual practice.
Definitely. And do you have any suggestions?
I address that.
Okay. Any other board members? Do you have a suggestion on how to word it?
In our current plan that we have now, one of the subtitles is board composition. And obviously, that has recently changed because now we have 5 PAs, 4 public, and 1 ex officio member of the medical board who no longer has a vote. So I think that when we get to the point of updating that, that might address.
I just handed her a list, so we can go through that, of updated numbers.
So what about something like we did for judiciaries, where it was educate, the public and stakeholders, something to that effect about the mission and the purpose of the board, and that was an outreach. So it was like a campaign to let people know about what the board's doing, what changes have happened, and what their composition is.
Board members?
This doesn't really have much to do with workforce.
This would be under a different heading.
Yeah,
probably.
it would be under outreach to kind of mirror that, the one above it.
And definitely the one above it will move to outreach if you're all okay with that. We addressed it here since it was brought up.
Trying to understand.
Thank you. No,
The 3 out of for everyone, right? We
Sir.
need to come up with 3 topics for each subcategory.
there's no specific number, 3 to 5, depending on what items you need to address, whether it's in the environmental scan, whether it's items, objectives that you all have in mind outside of the environmental scan, or additional objectives you'd like to carry over from the previous strategic plan.
On number 1, issues support optimal team practice. I'm a little concerned about putting out that we're going to support OTP. It doesn't even exist today, really,
About
in,
educate.
in California.
Oh,
Educate.
educate about,
Yeah, I think educate
educate.
Okay.
optimal team practice.
We have 3
So-
educates.
Can I just ask a question? I'm a little.
Yes.
Some of the goals, can we just look at the goals first before we start filling in the things underneath them?
Sure, we can skim through the goals. Did you want to read the goal statement?
Well, I think goal number 2 can probably go.
Professional qualifications
Yeah,
in education?
we're not really involved. We monitor workforce and education in terms of knowing what the supply is going to be. But we don't, page 11 in the old one. I'm looking at the old one because so I know kind of where it came from.
This is something we have to have though, right, this goal too, we have to have something in it or we can get rid of it.
The board members decide what goal areas you'd like to have or remove.
Okay, do we need this?
That's a good question. Do we have Lynn in the room?
It includes CME, but didn't we have that under something else?
We did that in the last strategic, because now we audit for CME, which we didn't do before, so.
Is that under professional education? So there are some business processes underneath the school area. Okay.
Okay,
It doesn't have to be as
I'm
robust.
just asking.
Well,
That's the only thing that falls.
So
We
Jesse,
still have to
point-
validate the exam
that's one of
too.
the weaknesses that they've assessed us with, the external stakeholder, on page 9.
Mhm.
They said, this is not a strength or weakness. I do not understand why and how PAB has become responsible for improvement to continuing education and examination standards.
Yeah,
Does PAB provide comments and suggestions to NCCPA, AAPA, or CAPA in terms of CME standards? How does higher education standards translate into ensuring consumer protection? So, they're telling us they don't want us to be doing this.
right, so I think maybe professional qualifications is fine, but take education off
Yeah.
and just have it include CME. So the sub-goals of underneath there, I don't think we need anything about accreditation or educational programs other than just monitoring.
Are you suggesting to revise the statement as well, or just the title?
Both.
Yeah.
Professional qualifications only.
Okay.
And then I would just change that to ensure that the licensees medical acumen is current, or whatever. Their current, their medical knowledge is current.
Okay.
Yeah, that might need a little,
Yeah, it
Wordsmithing,
needs work, but
Yeah.
that's the idea.
Yeah.
We don't need all that other education.
yeah, because they're already complaining about that.
Okay. Board members, do you all agree with modifying the goal area name and the statement? Yes.
But is that part of our mission statement? Somebody please,
Well, it all comes back to our mission of public safety.
yeah,
So the public is not safe if the licensees don't have current medical
Right.
knowledge. So,
no, I mean, this is good, but I mean, but I see why they're complaining and why you wanna decrease the expansion of that
yeah,
topic, but how do we, but I'm thinking maybe it is, I don't know why you wouldn't wanna keep it in.
because we don't accredit PA programs, we don't have anything to do with that.
Okay, so
That's
that's
all
why,
done externally.
okay, so that's why we would,
So this goal area title and the statement appropriately reflects what it is that the board does and has the capacity of doing. Okay? Would you like to move on to the next goal area statement? Legislation, regulation, and policy.
yes,
Yes,
that's
move
perfect.
forward. Okay, so we'll review really quickly. Communication and outreach. Does it accurately represent what the board does or should do? Yes, okay, moving forward.
And could we add communication and outreach? I mean, the last time we did our report, I don't think Facebook existed. And obviously that's a good way to reach out to consumers and like Facebook or Twitter or
Mhm.
whatever.
Objective,
Social media.
right, objectives. You can definitely develop an objective on social media when we get to the goal area. Thank you, Lisa. Just writing a note for us to remember. And enforcement, this is the enforcement goal area. Moving forward to licensing. And our last goal area, administration. Would you like to move forward with the objectives and workforce goal area? Yes? So far we have one objective, the second,
Excuse me, I have a question. Sorry, Tracy Montez, I'm with the department and I work with SWOT. I just have a question. Do you need professional qualifications and licensing, or could you combine those? Part of my job is to kind of look for efficiencies. And you don't necessarily have to make that decision now, but I'm just kind of throwing it out, because in listening to you talk about it, I was seeing and looking at the definitions, there seemed to be maybe some overlap. So something to think about.
Maybe combine them, professional qualifications and licensing.
Yeah. So you're
That seems good.
basically talking about making sure that they've met certain requirements to practice safely and do no harm.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
thank you, Tracy. Do you all agree with that? We'll combine them.
Yes.
Thank you. And we'll just take the
That's always good.
statement from the licensing goal area and we'll add it on. So any additional objectives for workforce goal area? We moved the other two objectives to outreach.
Yeah, so, Yeah, I don't know how to write this, but basically we want to know what the, could eat weeds, well. We want to monitor the pipeline, basically supply. So we do that by looking at the programs in the state and how many PAs they are turning out per year, that kind of thing. I don't know how to put that. The benefit is to have an accurate projection as to what sort of supply we're going to have.
Because that would mean we would need to increase staff. If there's more licensees, we need to increase our staff. That could go under administration as an action item to appropriately respond to the need based on the incoming influx of PAs, by increasing our staff.
We can definitely make a note for the administration goal area. And we want to make sure we capture this correctly. Monitor educational institutions to determine the number of graduates to appropriately respond to the need of
Appropriation of staff.
And this is for the workforce.
Well, we even look at programs that don't have any graduates yet, programs that are developing. So, what sort of workforce supply we're going to have. You know what we're dealing with.
Potential applicants or just in
Right.
We monitor the programs, not the graduates or applicants.
So in the past 2 years, we've doubled our number of PA programs, and going forward, we will have an additional 1 or 2 more depending, and probably more in the future. So we need to know, we need to have some type of estimation of what we're dealing with for those numbers, and then also appropriating licensing staff here to handle that load.
For historical information, in 2014, we probably had 6,000 PAs. Today we have 12,000. So
Okay.
it was essentially the same staff.
Okay. Does this more accurately capture the purpose?
The number of PA programs, PA training programs, however you want to say it, in California.
And does this also include the out-of-state licensees or candidates? Or is this a separate issue?
We can't monitor every program in the country. People can come from anywhere, but we can look at what's happening in California because most of the programs in California try to recruit primarily from California to keep people here.
And the benefit?
Helps us with staffing and growth. We also, later on, when it comes to outreach, we do outreach to these programs to help with people who are going to be licensees here. So.
Okay. Any further?
I have an additional action item for the third one.
Okay.
It says from stakeholders that are with this is that we don't have a lot of outreach to PAs via conference. So could we choose an action word to say engage physician assistants at local at conferences? Because that's something it seems like they want us to do. So seems like an easy fix.
Well, I think also it probably didn't capture that Bob goes out to the schools to talk to them as well, so probably we did
So
it.
the staff.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think we've all spoke at PA programs, so I don't think it's capturing some of the PA board activities.
Maybe
as
we should be
well as
taking pictures of that stuff and putting it on our website when you all go out. We
So
should
would
do
you
that.
like an objective to address it or not to address it?
I'm just saying we should probably include it somewhere in there that the PA staff is going out to educate and inform local PA schools.
There's another place.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. You can write it and then transfer it when you get there.
For outreach?
I think it was part of that other one where we said outreach and it was in there.
Okay.
It was in the
I wonder if this would be more outreach than
engage. It was
Educate and
another
engage.
engage, but it was somewhere else.
Yeah, educate.
Educate and engage.
Would you like to be more broad or keep it that specific at conferences?
Just broad. Make it broad.
Make it broad. Did we have already an outreach item that was broad? Let's go to outreach really quickly.
Yes, educate public regarding the mission, graduate students, application process, so.
But they're not at the conferences though, that's a different set of,
But it's gotta go under communication and outreach still, even if it's at a conference.
And we can
Right.
definitely add it here if you'd
Yeah,
like to add it here. Right now.
They're just adding it and then they'll move it over.
Yeah.
So, educate and engage,
And what would be the benefit?
so that those students can be highly informed when they, throughout their educational process as well as once they graduate.
it will decrease, enforcement issues for us. Therefore decreasing, it will increase public safety, because if, like Bob went out locally and educated some students
Uh-huh.
about regulations, and that's gonna decrease the number of violations that we'll see in the future, and protect the public.
Okay. And the matter itself would be presence at conferences. Is that the specific action?
Not so much as there, but also he goes to the school, so presence at the local institutions as well. California institution.
Okay, we're gonna copy this and paste it really fast in communication and outreach to see the other objectives that you all developed. Thank you. Okay. So the previous one, the public and stakeholders regarding the mission of the board, that's a little bit more broad. You wanted to address specifically the students and stakeholders at conferences, correct?
Those two say, the last two kind of say the same thing, right?
This one's more broader.
Maybe your action item is attending conferences.
There you go.
So your action item under educate would be attend the
Yeah.
conferences.
It's better.
And by action item, it's that action planning that we provide after the plan has been adopted. We list out, the board lists out all the specific tasks that need to be completed in order to accomplish that objective. So we could add it as a note, the educate, the conferences and all, that specific objective during the action planning, it could be a task, if that's okay.
Yep.
Yes, okay.
Could we do enforcement?
Definitely. Would you like to skip workforce, or did you have additional objectives for workforce? Okay, we can
Go
go
back
back.
to workforce.
Yes, we'll glance at it quickly. Thank you, Lucy. We have pressure over here on the computer trying to move as fast as we can. So the workforce, we can remove the last one. Okay. So we have two objectives.
Can you put the number of current and developing PA programs?
Okay. Does that capture? Yes. Do you all agree these objectives? Two objectives, any additional objectives? So shall we move forward? Yes? Thank you. So we're gonna jump into enforcement, and we'll just go back to the other goal areas. So we'll trade off Patricia, so you don't get bored listening to me all the time.
Alright, so your goal for enforcement, protect the health and safety of consumers through the enforcement of the laws and regulations governing the practice of physician assistance. So do you need to take some moments to look over your packet before you start suggesting objectives? No?
So could we actually add an item that says, maybe that it could be streamline, or it could be recommend that a physician assistant gets to be in on the ground level of any case that comes into comes in for to be looked at. So then the goal would be to decrease unnecessary AG spending, because some of the cases that come through to us are, they're spending a lot of money to get through on a frivolous case that we could have easily saved a bunch of spending and unnecessary time for the, I guess, the spending basically. If a PA would have been able to look at the case early on in the process.
So you're suggesting that the board having a PA in-house or a consultant as a
No, I think we have plenty of PAs on our board. I think that maybe on the ground level, when the case is being in the intake stages, deciding whether or not we're going to pursue it and spend all the money, maybe we should have a PA just review it.
Like an expert reviewer.
Yeah, like Jet, maybe we can expand on that.
But
Yeah,
then you
so-
might have to excuse yourself if it goes further. You would probably then have to
Yeah,
excuse yourself.
I don't have a problem with that
So-
because it decreases so much time and effort.
Yeah, so-
use themselves as expert reviewers.
So hire your consultant.
Consultant reviewer or expert
Yeah.
reviewer.
PA, yeah, use PA experts in
Someone
initial
outside
evaluation
the
of
board.
complaints. That's what I would say. To determine validity of complaints.
You can use board members. Is that what you're talking
No,
about?
yeah, she's not board member.
Okay.
I thought we discussed that once before.
We
So
have
that's
that.
We bring it up
Yeah,
all the
you
time.
can't use board member experts because then they couldn't make the decision on the case.
Well, no, I don't think they're talking about board member experts. We have PA experts outside, similar to medical doctor experts. They're saying hire.
A list
lieu
of
of a doctor.
experts, yeah.
But I thought we discussed that
We did,
before, we
we
couldn't,
have,
and we
yeah.
couldn't
And here
do
we are,
that.
we're making it an action item, so if we address.
I thought there was a legal reason for that. but-
Well,
Well,
the reason-
AG's office, I mean, I think they gave a presentation on that.
So that they can.
Yeah, and I disagree with them.
Well, I know that.
I agree, so it's your, strategic plan, you can put it on whatever you like.
Thanks,
When I
Christie.
look at it.
I don't think that it is in lieu of a medical doctor's
No.
advice. Initial review goes to a PA expert and then it's
Okay.
on.
Put that down,
So we just want to add a step.
sure.
And it makes
There's a determinability of the case.
Of the complaint.
Well, somewhere we will have to create one.
Yep. What constitutes an expert? I like that.
Any other objectives for enforcement?
Actually,
Well, I still have a question on this one.
Okay.
If you're gonna have an expert consultant, then that's gonna affect the budget, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it is gonna affect the budget.
and-
It's
and
like a
then-
head count.
And is it every complaint that expert PA would review?
So here's the issue. So several cases have gone all the way through the system that when we look at them, we're like, why did this case go anyway? Many of them settle, but some of them fight it forever. And we probably would have just said, no, that's not something we really need to pursue. And so the question is there a PA in the process somewhere looking at this? And what we found out is no, there isn't. When it doesn't quite seem fair, when we're the PA board and we're responsible for PAs and a PA never looks at the case, because I don't care that the court thinks that physicians know more. A physician has not been a PA and doesn't understand the process involved.
I agree with you
I agree.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
not to mention the potential initial spending on that PA consultant could potentially save
Yeah.
much more money.
But you
than-
can save a whole bunch more money if PA is
Yeah.
the initial consultant because they wouldn't be paid as much
Or
as the doctor.
co-consultant, it doesn't have to be, we don't have to be before the doctor, maybe even just in addition to a doctor, just an extra set of hours. It could potentially save a lot of money.
This goes back to really us doing our own enforcement.
And I mean,
Yes.
conversely, how many
That's it.
times does the medical board call someone else to review a case for the medical board? 0.
Yeah.
But
So-
we're asking physicians
I'm gonna
to
add
review all of our cases.
I'm gonna add one at the risk of being sacrificed. But I would like to separate from the medical board for enforcement. We'd like to do our own enforcement. I feel any knives in my back so far.
No, I
That's a
agree.
fair
Is that possible?
Need a quick move for the three. They deserve it.
Is it possible to just separate from
You
medical
have
board?
to ask the enforcement commission.
Is that possible?
Hey, we're just researching.
We
We're
got
not-
this is research,
Action
wish
item,
list.
research.
We're gonna need another BCP to get on position, and I don't know if we can get it quick enough for you guys.
Okay, these are strategic plans, these are
Yeah.
plans.
Yeah.
Is it the entire enforcement process or just the disciplinary process?
Everything.
The entire enforcement process?
Become an independent board.
These are plans.
So that's-
Wish list. I think it's like.
Is that to increase efficiency or?
Neither.
Okay. To increase efficiencies.
Okay, to increase efficiency.
Decrease length of time
Yes.
in the process of enforcement.
This would go hand in hand with Tony's medical sponsor that we would send out anyway, so.
On the first one, do you want to consider, instead of consult, hire, maybe evaluate use of? So you could explore costs and things or not? Or Christy's saying you've already done that?
Well, I think if the second one gets done, the first one has to happen. So,
Okay.
I like the word evaluate.
yeah, so we're not committed to doing it.
Evaluate use of.
Possibility
Evaluate
of
use
PA
of.
effort.
Right.
Evaluate use of PA effort. As first line of enforcement.
Also take out
Would you like to contribute?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that better?
Looks good to me.
You mean, are you talking about enforcement investigation? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, yes.
So anyway, we can, we were, feasibility, allowing the PA board to be our own, enforcement.
I don't think so. All right, I'll put my back out there too. Why don't we just make it the feasibility of separating from the medical board? Right.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
take that last part off.
And you can put that in my initial plan.
Yeah.
For the benefit, would you like to condense that? Just a recommendation.
Then would that go under administration? Probably.
I would,
Okay.
the benefit, I would say, to increase efficiencies and decrease cumbersome.
Just to increase efficiencies, I think you can leave it, increase
Right.
efficiencies.
Is it also effective?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is admin, and they're also not a voting member, so they don't really.
I don't know that it's, that's really an enforcement issue. I mean, that's, we couple with the MBC on enforcement and legislative stuff, really. Anything else?
Cashiering.
With what?
Cashiering.
Cashiering? That would definitely be under admin.
So say that for admin.
Yeah.
Can
I
do
don't, I
one
don't
more?
think that goes under admin is what I'm
Okay.
saying, that's an enforcement.
Can we do one more under this topic, enforcement?
Definitely.
Just before you move on to the next one, so do you wanna specify that this is specifically enforcement, or we're moving it to admin because it covers 3 different areas of, joining the NBC and
Wherever you think it fits best is fine.
Okay, I'm just gonna leave it at admin.
Okay.
Alright,
So the other one, could we say as our action word encourage? And then for the issue, review by the PA board of AG spending on enforcement cases. So and then it would be to prevent, overspending. So, for example, because right now we're coming in over budget on AG spending, so could we, maybe before we overspend, could we be involved in, hey, do we want to pursue the case further, so we have the decision to go over budget or not?
Okay.
Because if we're held to be responsible for the budget, we should at least get to make the decision if we're gonna be spending the money. So, we should be in on the ground level of, are we gonna keep going and spend the money? It should be our decision if it's our responsibility. Right?
I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing at the fact that we have no idea where we're spending it.
Yeah,
Well,
we find out after we
let's-
spend.
Let's put that on as another item. We need to be informed, have a current financial picture.
That's
And
under,
also-
That's not
That's out
gonna be
here.
under
that's
enforcement.
not under enforcement, but I totally agree
Let's
with
put
you.
that wherever that should go, that maybe it needs to be
Administration.
so under admin.
How often do you want?
Timely
budget
and
report?
accurate budgetary
That's perfect.
information.
Monthly.
Perfect.
Monthly, yes.
By hand if necessary, if the steep program is not.
Benefit is so that we know what we have to spend. We've been operating in the dark for a year, just about.
We can make accurate financial decisions.
Make financial decisions.
No,
What do you make a second vote for this? My point
On a roll.
Are you talking about what's happening or what's beneath it? Okay. So I don't know. I'm sorry.
Maybe down to the road. Yeah, but one on timely and budget, I think, is going, administration.
Okay, so the encourage and provide, those two items regarding the budget, are those basically the same thing, only stated differently, or do you want to keep them separate?
One is specifically related to enforcement.
Okay,
Yeah, and the provide should be under administration.
okay.
But would the encourage issue reviewed by the PA board on spending be a action item under the last objective, provide timely report?
Is it such an issue that should be addressed individually in enforcement goal area in the strategic plan? Or could it be an issue that could be addressed by staff and the EO during the action planning?
Like when you report on spending in a board meeting, are you talking about AG costs under like a
Yes.
budget report, or are you talking about it in enforcement? Because if it's under a budget report, it'd probably be an action item, I'm thinking, because it's just a level of detail maybe in your budget report.
Yes.
That's Christie saying, that's
Maybe a
correct.
budget report, because that would pull out everything, what we're spending, how much, how long we've been spending, and then also if they don't have the report, then talking about that.
So all of these objectives that you are developing, like this third one, we'll copy and paste it and bring it up during action planning, remembering that's a task and action item that should be completed underneath that objective, if that makes sense.
So when you put it under an action item, I know we'll view it, but will they view it as well, or who is it viewed by?
Yes, so the objectives that you see on the PowerPoint, so those 3 objectives, those are going to go in your strategic plan, which is a public document, so everyone will see that, like all the stakeholders. But when we say action item, those are more internally. That's for the EO and the staff, like, oh, we should encourage, we should look at the AG spending or those specific items that they should be working on. Unless the board decides to put the action plan out in the public, which a lot of boards don't decide to do so.
So we should put that as an action item.
So it's okay to be as an action item to kind of give direction to the board staff. Please check on the AG spending as part of the monthly and timely accurate budgetary information report.
I would agree, I guess we're putting it down, but sometimes we don't have control over the budget, and they don't bring it, they don't there's so many different reasons, so even though we're putting it here, we already know, but who's the ones that do this so that we can correct the action to make our action item? Who correct the action?
The strategic plan itself, you're asking?
Yeah, like she's saying, who's gonna see this?
The strategic plan?
Yeah.
From all your stakeholders, whoever has access to the internet and like to see what is the strategy of the board, where are they heading, what are they doing in enforcement area. It is a requirement by the Department of Finance as well, so they'll be reviewing what is the board doing, the administration aspect, the financing aspect.
Yeah, it's considered a public document, so it could be posted on your website. You could have legislators ask for it. If there's a BCP, they may want some information. It's just a mandate by CalHR that all state agencies do strat plans, and so inform the public, be transparent.
I think that these are really, when you put it in that context, many of these are action items, not actual goals.
Okay. And the actual goal is the enforcement and then the goal statement that we read at the beginning. And these are more objectives. So this is the goal. You all want to protect the health and safety of consumers through enforcement of laws and regulations. The objectives are the specific ones. Well, how are we going to accomplish that goal? Well, we're going to accomplish it by evaluating the use of PA experts in the first line of enforcement. And then an action item would be send out job notifications or figure out the budget, and those start becoming little action items or tasks to accomplish the objective that overall will help accomplish the goal.
So just think of it in terms of different levels of specificity, and the action items are kind of your own board staff and EO doing the steps, and that's not necessarily something that's public, because that's really getting into the weeds. So it's mostly your goals, your definitions, and your objectives that are for the public.
All right, thank you.
That's from Earl.
All right, let's move on. Thank you.
Yeah,
All right.
well, it's the same stuff, so.
Okay.
Did you, do you have any other objectives for enforcement?
No, I think we're good.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move to a different topic.
I think you guys are doing really good. I mean, these are really solid, and you're making a good distinction between objectives and action items. So,
Let's keep the momentum.
yeah.
Yeah.
Could we add one more under enforcement? Sorry. Bob made me do it. So, can we have, conduct a review of past disciplinary actions to identify best enforcement practices?
That's what that one, right?
Good. What was the benefit?
To identify best enforcement practices? When a case is over and all done, maybe, I don't know, the action, we'd have to figure out how often to do it, but look at, in these cases, what worked and what didn't.
Yeah, like in today's
And
session,
where
we
could,
tasted that. That was,
and where could we save money?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's really, really good.
And that's actually consistent with the department strat plan, because we do have an enforcement work group, so that's a real nice parallel with the DCA overall.
Okay. All right,
Who
so
would do this review?
I don't know, you're asking hard questions.
right.
Can we put one more action item in?
Daggers.
I know, Lynn's like, oh my god, you guys are killing me.
Conduct, create the issue would be monthly aging of enforcement cases more than 8 months time frame. We used to have this before we freeze and we've lost it.
Okay.
And the benefit?
Benefit is
Accountability.
accountability of case aging timeframes and potential correction. Enforcement proceedings.
So is this,
I mean, in the old days, we knew if a case had been sitting there for 3.5 years, at least we knew that. So that if somebody from whatever newspaper came and said, this person's been undergoing enforcement review for 3 years, what are you guys doing? Now we don't have a clue how many are out there.
So you don't have a way to track how old a case is.
Yes.
So you need to come up with a way to flag those cases that are a certain age. So maybe create a process of identifying cases that have aged more than 8 months. Or
And we can't do that until it's
actually, you can. There's a new reporting tool called Hubert, and it does. It can provide a report for how long a case has been sitting.
And that's a part of Breeze?
It is a part of Breeze.
yes.
Yes.
Action item.
It is available. Well, if they have Breeze, it's available. It's available to for that Breeze.
It is Breeze, they are Breeze.
Okay, yeah, then it's available.
All right, there is our action item, that's good.
Yeah.
should I keep them this language or go with this language?
Well,
Identify.
yeah.
I think identifying is your action verb, right? Identify.
Is there a reason behind the 8 months?
That just seemed to be the magic number in the old days.
Okay.
At the start. I don't have a problem with making it later, but it's kind of nice to know at 8 months where we are.
So the action item would be to go through the Hubert, is that his name?
Yeah, it's Q and then BIR. Quality business.
QBIRT.
Interaction tools. So Hubert.
I use them all the time. I use Hubert reports all the time. Sonia, that new licensing report that I gave you, that's a Hubert report.
That's a Hubert report.
Okay.
So we're looking at, the enforcement, the cases that have aged, are we talking only about the specific intake and investigation, or are we talking about formal discipline? Or start from finish, including both intake?
I would say not intake. Intake is very short period of time. It's what happens after the intake.
Okay, so just looking at the enforcement measures, intake and investigation, the target is 150 days. Informal discipline is 540 days. Do you want to kind of correlate with any of these targeted dates?
I would think 500, whatever you quoted is way too long.
Yeah, where's that coming from?
That's comes from the Consumer Protection Enforcement Initiative that was established about, I want to say 8 to 10 years ago. And it's what the Senate Business Professions Committee would use for your sunset review as a measure of how effectively you're processing your cases and closing them. So that's why all the other boards in the department use that 540 metric, but it's not something you have to do. So, but that's the number that they would ask for when you go before sunset review. They would ask that number.
So that's like roughly a year and a half, is that what they're saying?
But everything from start to finish should be done below that number.
Okay. This is internal for us though, right?
Yeah.
At this point, the strategic plan is actually the public document.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to indicate 8 months, you can definitely do so. I just wanted to get an answer.
Well, if we identify them at 8 months, that still gives us another 8 months or so to get it finished. So we identified early enough to do something. If it isn't too good to identify it, and it's too late to fix it. So
Okay.
I think 8 months is a good.
And I mean, sometimes cases can't move forward because they're waiting for a criminal trial to take place, and that holds the ECA enforcement process until that takes
And you're okay with the benefit as it's stated there, the accountability of case aging timeframes and enforcement decisions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Could you maybe just change that to timely enforcement decisions?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
And this, sorry, again, just wanted to point it out. Are we looking, or are you looking for like a system, a process to double check and making sure that all the cases are running, that they're not like paused or delayed for whatever reason? I guess it's a question that I have. I was an enforcement analyst, and I wouldn't let my cases age for so long. I would definitely like every month keep up with every single case that I had and make sure that they were all appropriately moving forward and there was no delay. So just pointing that out, because I guess I'm still asking myself, where does the 8 months come? And is that too late, or is that early enough? Or
I think it's early enough.
Okay.
If nothing has happened in 8 months, then we at least need to look at it and say, all right, it's not happening because there's a reason.
Okay.
That way it's not a year,
Okay.
and then next time you know it's 2 years.
Okay.
And then I think we get a report every time we're here on the update on
But we have no idea how long
how long
that
it's-
takes.
yeah. So I think layering it with the 8 months, that will give us another indication of what's in action, what's in the queue, as well as who's over 8 months.
Do you want to add enforcement?
Alright.
So basically we have 3 enforcement objectives because 2 of the ones we're going to need to administration. Actually, maybe just, yeah, 2 of them.
Okay. Let's move on, I'm sure we'll have more.
Are you organizing here or redistributing the objectives? Is there any preference? Which goal area you'd like to cover next? No? Okay. We'll round on legislation and regulation.
Okay, Mary.
So this is the goal statement. On page 11 of your environmental scan, you'll find the feedback. Would you like a couple minutes to review it, or would you like to start sharing some objectives?
I think if there's a way we could do an action item to maybe inform as action item or action word, get practicing PAs and students about regulations that are in the pipeline, like sort of like what you did for us today, you know, kind of helping the public.
Maybe we could put that, whatever we
That
discussed on the website.
That would be perfect. So basically,
Sorry, ladies.
well, it's easy. You could literally just upload that file.
Yeah.
It would be super, super easy.
Well,
But
we'll have to chop it up.
it would inform the PAs about any regulation that may affect practice, so that then the benefit would be, so the PA members could be informed and possibly like
Participate or
Participate.
activate them. It's like the network,
Yeah.
activating the network.
I think the OTP one should really go here. Get under workforce.
You can double check. So let's capture this objective first.
Sorry.
No, it's okay, sorry.
Short attention.
I wanted to make sure we put too much pressure on ourselves. Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you, Lucy. So this one, would you like to move it to legislation?
I think so, that's more of a
Well, actually,
legislative
it's like
issue. Yeah.
both, I mean, right?
Could we have it on
Or
both?
you have it on both.
And it would be repetitive, so you definitely want to have it in one area.
Or we could change,
It's more
we
workforce.
could just word it differently.
Yeah.
So if we go back to legislation, we could say
Update, that could be the action item. Update,
apply.
You can definitely do that.
Grassroots activation. What do you wanna call it?
Explore, application of OTP, optimal team practice, to maximize utilization of PAs and improve patient access to healthcare.
And I think the first one should be grassroots activation about pending regulations and legislation. That's how you would frame it. When you wanna activate a specific group of people regarding legislation. So just there, activate, grassroots activation.
And is that within the scope of the board? I don't know, that's just a question.
Well, it's by putting it on the website, you're kind of engaging them and activating them to partake, to call their assembly member and say, that's gonna be bad for me.
Right, no, I totally understand.
How about
What is
engage?
it within the
Engage
scope?
work better than activate?
Yeah, engage was fine, I just thought over there, grassroots activation or grassroots outreach. I don't know, whatever word you wanna use, doesn't mind me.
Would this be an outreach item, or will it still be under legislation, regulation, and policy?
No, it would still be uploading something onto the website that describes all the legislation that's going to affect them. And if they wanna take an action, they can know who to contact. This assembly member is, putting this piece of legislation on that's gonna hinder your practice.
Okay. To engage grassroots outreach for practicing PAs and students about pending regulation and legislation to better inform the PA stakeholders to the practice.
And then I guess the task would be uploading it onto our website.
Okay, we can make a note of that.
Is that a task?
Yes, that
I'm
would be,
trying to
thank you,
figure it all out.
yes.
Can we just better inform PA stakeholders instead of other parties?
Better informed, okay, cut it short after.
Not sure what that's talking about.
Do y'all agree with that? Okay. And how is the second objective seeking legislation or regulation or policy? We're exploring what exactly?
The optimal team practice as a whole, there's 4 main legislative goals that go with it, which would really be reforming the entire PA Practice Act.
Okay.
So it's just a short way of saying that instead of typing the whole thing.
I'm gonna take that.
Can I ask a quick question? In your former or 2018 right stand, who were the stakeholders? Were they here or were they out?
External.
Stakeholders, the external ones were, the survey itself was sent out to 20, I forgot the specific number, to schools, to certain schools. Those were the external ones.
And it should also the professional association, the
Yeah.
California Academy of Physician Assistants, American Academy of Physician Assistants.
And does the second objective capture the purpose of the,
Yeah, except you can take out the in front of OTP.
okay. Moving forward, do y'all agree with these two objectives? Do you have any additional objectives you'd like to add?
I don't have any, I have a question. It said net board members can adopt more regulations. How many more regulations do you want? I'm just curious.
I think they're talking about it, getting, what we've been doing, getting rid of, updating, yeah. In
Making
fact,
sure
maybe
that
we
they're
should have,
consistent with existing law and not necessarily burdensome.
how about, for another one, review and update regulations to address legislative changes.
Does the GCA do that?
No,
They don't put anything out? Updates to regs and,
no,
really?
we have to do our own eval. The boards do their own regulations.
Do
Boards
they
and
do,
bureaus.
is that a practice? Do they do that? Do bureaus or boards do that?
Yes.
They do?
So review and update regulations to comply with legislation.
So I saw
I
something
think
over
to
here
comply
that
with
says,
legislation is the benefit.
Okay.
Actually, that was a goal in 2014, 3.2.
It's really to implement, and make more specific legislation.
Do you all agree?
Yep.
Yes.
we kind of get advisory, isn't that like advising them on the new law, and we don't want to do that, right?
Not if it's interpretive.
Well, we'll have to find, maybe from the digest or something. I don't know where we're gonna get that. Someone's gonna have to write that.
That's what she does. That's what I do.
You're gonna write all that?
When the legislation comes through, I look through it and see if
Okay.
it affects any of our regs. And then I'll go through and I'll make changes. And bring
I
them
just
to
don't wanna
you.
make more work.
It's part of the job. Yeah.
Thank you. Any additional objectives? Or refinements of these objectives that are up here? Should we move forward? Yes. I just want to make sure there's no public in here, correct? For public comment? No. No? Okay. So we'll move forward.
So I have a question. Can
Yes.
we, so we said upload on the website. Can we add another task? It's more coordination with our association, so they can push out information as well?
Sure, we can.
Because I see there's some weakness was the board should go beyond just using the website to inform meetings. So I'm throwing that out there, I don't know.
Thank you.
Yeah,
We'll definitely add that note and review it during action planning with EL and staff. Thank you. Are you ready to move forward?
how many slides do we have?
You have 28 slides.
28?
No, see, you see those empty ones?
We did those already, that's communication and
Yeah.
outreach.
Did you want, communication and outreach, these were just brainstormings from a previous session, so you haven't really technically completed this section.
How about utilize for your action?
Wait, do we have somebody updating Facebook, Twitter? Do we even have
Do we have that stuff, ladies?
No, we can get it.
Okay.
Giddy up. Yeah.
Do you want to be more broad, like just social media in general?
Yes,
like
just social media.
utilize social media?
That'd be fun.
Can we do the same thing as the medical board is doing with that new program?
The app, you want an app? You wanna go from nothing to an app?
That's part of
Only if
social-
it's
part of social
Well,
media, I think.
consider,
It is.
Okay, just social media, it includes everything, your app too.
Right.
Social
We'll
media.
include your app in there.
And then the benefit is to maximize outreach and communication.
They're,
And that way we aren't just walking towards the local meeting. That's something format.
We can invent a new social media platform.
Yeah.
There you go. Yes.
PAC app.
the board,
Do you want to have an objective to collaborate with stakeholders? Is that something you want to add to communication and outreach?
yeah, sure. A special booth at the conference, there we go.
We see that.
Well, it's communication and outreach.
So collaborate, what did you say? Collaborate?
With stakeholders.
These students and
take it a step farther and say professional association.
It's part of that action item.
That's fine, but, well, stakeholders includes everybody.
Exactly.
What are we doing? Collaborate with stakeholders to do what? What's their benefit?
Ensure needs are met of the current state PAs, or
To ensure needs are met,
Sharing information.
To maximize outreach and
yeah,
communication.
there you go.
I can't think of anything better. The vocabulary of fraud.
I have a question.
I know, I'm trying not to, but.
No, but that's how it
When
is.
all
Like,
this is sent out to
yeah, a lot of
stakeholders,
voices. Right.
was it sent out to PAs?
I'm sorry?
The stakeholders, does that include the
There you
PAs?
go.
For the environmental scan,
Yes.
that was sent out only specifically to a list that was developed by the board, which was contained only, I believe, schools.
Okay, then
And the professional.
is there any survey that's sent out to PAs as to whether they even access the website?
There was no, based on my knowledge, it wasn't sent out to all the PAs.
No, my question is, can we send out a survey to
Oh.
PAs and
Oh.
say, do you actually look at the website?
Oh,
I can tell
You
you
like
right
that
now,
objective?
They don't
never
look at it.
open it.
I didn't even know
We had a
have
PA,
Yeah.
what, PA for 15 years, never been to our website.
Yeah, they don't.
It's all these educate and whatever that's kind of meaningless if PAs don't even look at the website.
That's how it
Sorry.
works. That's how it works, yeah. They're complaining that they don't have information, but yet it's on the website, but they don't look at it. So,
Correct.
you know,
Oh, that's why we're good.
So we just have
They look at social media, so it's
So
like
maybe,
theirs.
okay,
That's why we need that app.
Yeah, we'll go to them.
this would either be administrative or communication and outreach. Change our website address to PA board instead of PAC, position assistant committee.
Yes.
We haven't been the position assistant committee for 5 years, but our website address is still PAC.
That's a good one. I like that one, Ross. Wow.
So,
Yeah.
change. Or update. Web address.
Reflect the change to reflect.
That we are an independent board.
It's the same thing.
Sorry, too inflammatory?
That
It's
more accurate, it's just more
to reflect
accurate.
The
that we
benefit
are
is,
now
it's
a
more
board.
accurate and easier to find.
Okay, so more accurate.
Easier for the public and the licensees to find if it's
To
reflective
increase
of them.
accessibility.
There you
Yes,
go, I like that.
there you
Good
go.
wordsmithing.
There you
Much
go.
less inflammatory.
And then, this is about
Educate public and stakeholders.
Does that help with the board's mandate? Consumer protection?
That we collaborate with stakeholders to fulfill the mission of the board? Or not?
So you want educate to be changed to collaborate, or?
Well, I'm trying to, I don't know,
I believe this, was an attempt to address. There was a discussion trying to address, the perceptions of the stakeholders not receiving enough information from the board.
And knowing about the makeup of the board and so forth. So
There
it's kind of like a big campaign to outreach.
We need to hire a marketing firm.
We do, we have communications, we have a great communications division. Veronica Carnes is deputy, contact her, she's
At
doing
DCA?
that. At DCA, yep.
So are they the people who are doing our media campaigns?
so
Are
we,
they the ones
the
doing the social media?
the benefit
They
would
might
be
be, yes.
to,
I mean,
include
they do it for
stakeholder
DCA,
involvement.
but they definitely have someone to reach out to.
Involvement.
Yeah.
So as I'm typing, I'm hearing a lot of different voices. So if we can have like one person talking, that way I can write it accurately, that would be great.
So in that last comment, we were trying to figure out, who's the person that does the outreach in certain departments?
It's Veronica Harm. She's in the She's the deputy director of communications. So you could have something like working with the communications, DCA communications division, for an outreach campaign. She does that. Their shop does that for other boards and bureaus.
Okay, that's where we can get that,
That app, maybe some squeezy toys.
So who did the app for the medical board? Does anybody know how that happened?
They have their own ISB.
Oh, they do.
They got big.
Do we have access to that same ISB unit?
Possibly.
So that could be part of an action plan. It's like who's going to set up the app.
Ask Veronica, and she can help you. If you want an app, she can help you with that. I mean, or she can at least connect you or get you started.
Just quickly, how does the money work? Are we not punching on the same pot of money? Or they have to? Oh, okay.
I don't understand why don't they, this becomes a big policy issue, why can't, if they have those,
Yeah.
why don't they
Yeah.
go out to all the boards?
Right.
Why is it just for one board? It's like reinventing the wheel every time.
So one board has more access than other boards. Is that what I'm saying?
They
So
are
the admin board does a lot of their own IS work. They have their own communications experience. So Sean is the head, the manager, so he's the one that develops a lot of this stuff. We're also on their network, so tomorrow I'm gonna start placing a few phone calls to see, I'll talk to Sean, see if we can possibly piggyback on what they're doing, and I'll also contact DCA to see what we can do.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Because that should be very easy, and we creating, it could be for physicians and MDs and PAs and nurses, it could be all in one app. Why are they reinventing the wheel?
It has to be distinction for the financial aspect.
Alright, so if we decrease.
For any medical practitioner.
If we decrease the $180,000 from the AG, we can use that money again.
Every department has to invent their own wheel.
So it sounds like you
You're
definitely
not
have
doing
some
enforcement?
good ideas for
Yeah, I'm
action
saying we
plans.
do better enforcement with PA experts, they're planning to increase our costs, can we move that money over? No, can't
Are
do
we,
that.
are we
No, you
thinking
can't.
too small?
Can't do anything,
We're
can't
thinking
have
big picture
anything.
here,
Oh
right?
my gosh.
Different line item.
Correct. I mean, what you're, the whole app thing, that's definitely part of an action item for
Yeah.
once we get the objectives
Social
agreed
media.
upon. So right now we've got 4 objectives under communication and outreach. Are there any other objectives that you want to add, or do those look good? Look good?
Can we take the move to outreaches out there?
You want that as part of the plan?
No.
So moving on to licensing, this one was going to be licensing and professional qualifications, correct? We can start off with, we have no previous drafted objectives, so we can start on a clean slide.
Did the professional qualifications one get moved to here, the stuff from that?
Correct. Did we have, let me double check and see if we had any. My apologies. We didn't have any objectives drafted yet.
Oh.
And we'll start with the new, did you want a couple minutes or did you like to start sharing some of the objectives? So you might have to look through the scan in 2 different places, one for the licensing and one for the professional education.
Are we through all the phases in Breeze? Are we? Have we completed?
Sorry, you had a question for me?
I think Breeze is going through some final phase. Are we complete with that?
Lynn?
Breeze?
I think Breeze was going through like the last updating phase. Have we finished that?
We're done. We're in, maintenance now.
Okay, so Breeze is under maintenance, but the phases have been completed. Would someone like to start us off with the first objective with an action word or verb?
There were some things we talked about, collecting data for Oshkosh. I don't really know using a credit card.
You have one in here? I have one, for, licensees that are licensed in other states. Right now, unless the state only does digital verification, we require a hard copy of verification. And it would be really beneficial to a lot of licensees who are coming into the state to be able to send us a digital verification of their other license. We have, and it's been policy to always get a wet signature on a verification, but with Veridoc around, that's a very secure site.
Okay. So
Let's-
implement.
So explore, accepting electronic signatures as part of the application process.
Why don't we just go back to implement? Why don't we just?
Yeah.
Now they're gonna
Implement
explore.
electronic verification.
Well, because there's a lot
This
of
is-
legal requirements that we
Yeah.
have to meet
Oh, I
before we
see.
can accept electronic and digital signatures.
Can we do the
So-
same thing?
Is that the
Aren't we
same for
accepting-
verifications though?
Aren't we accepting, electronic signatures on other documentations?
No.
No.
We do allow it on the DSA though, right?
Correct.
Yes.
So
That's in
I remember that.
regulation.
That's in regulation already, so we can, but
We've
right
done it
now,
for-
we're, unless the state sends us a document that says, hey, we're not doing paper verifications anymore. That's the only way that we accept an electronic verification. And it would really speed up the
Increase
process of getting documents in.
Thank you. So explore accepting electronic and digital signatures to increase efficiency.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
That's a good one.
Not just that, but offering an electronic verification and offering to licensing.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Develop? Is that what you want to
We
do?
have no way of collecting an electronic payment. It would increase the time to process. We get a lot of requests that come in without payment.
Thank
We have
you.
to send them back.
I believe we didn't capture this. So developed.
The feasibilities of it.
Of doing what?
Of
Providing
offering.
a verification,
offering.
Providing electronic
verification to licensees who are going to other states.
Are you talking about verification of license status?
Yes.
Providing electronic verifications
Of license?
of license status and history.
Thank you. It's a little hard to hear all
Sorry.
our voices.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I just had to say that. And what would be the benefit?
I would,
Increase efficiency.
it would increase it, but it would also, increase staff time, or decrease staff time for processing.
Conserve resources.
Conserve resources, yeah.
How does that work, board members? Okay. Any additional objectives? And we can definitely ask for input from staff as well, board members.
I think that develop should be explore. It
Okay.
says explore feasibility, like,
Right.
develop feasibility seems kind of.
Explore feasibility, correct, thank you.
Just to give any idea or reason behind not being able to share background checks across state, why we have to have a hard.
It's prohibited by penal code sections prohibits us from sharing information on backgrounds.
No, like from one state to the other. I mean, it doesn't make sense for the FBI, but maybe from state to state, why we always have to have them do this for part if they're out of California.
Because we don't share systems across the states. It's only our system and the FBI. It's the only thing we have access to. There's no interstate agreements to share criminal history information out there.
Is there with other states? Because I hear that.
I don't know. But I know California doesn't.
Okay.
So.
And that's not something that we have any knowledge of changing.
No, I mean, the whole criminal history rap sheet information is set by the Attorney General's office, and they created the criminal offender record information database for criminal history information to be collected in this state. And in order for us to get that criminal history information, we have to follow their law, and their law that they, penal code section sets forth the requirements for our state agency to get that information. And I'm not aware of other states allowing California state agencies to get their criminal history information. So I'm not aware of that authority. So, I mean, I wouldn't even know how to do that, to obtain that information. You could explore, other than asking the question on the application, have you ever had a criminal conviction, how to collect criminal histories from out-of-state applicants. I mean, I don't know.
Okay, so I want to welcome back the board members. Did you want to include them in this conversation? I'm a little lost.
So staff is asking, why can't we get criminal history information from other states? And why can't we share our criminal history information that we have in California with other states? And the way that our law works is our agency that collects criminal history information is the California State Attorney General. And the Attorney General only shares their information with, eligible authorizing agencies. And the agencies that are authorized to get information are listed in that penal code section we looked at earlier today. And I'm not aware that other states can tap into that, and I wouldn't know how our state would tap into other states, because there's no national database other than the FBI for reporting national criminal history. Not all states report criminal history the same way. So there's really no uniform system right now that I'm aware of. But it wouldn't be, you could always put it on there as a strategic plan item, is to explore, sharing criminal history information with other states, but I don't know how that would work. I don't know how we would implement it.
Seems a little beyond our scope.
Yeah, so.
It is, but it's something that does impact licensing, so it was just an idea as an objective is to, not really that it has to be up there, but I was just trying to think of things that impact licensing, such as electronic and digital signatures. That significantly slows down an application. So does a fingerprint card that gets rejected, is it takes it from a 2 to 4 week process from a 12 week process. So just
Thank you.
throwing things out there.
Yes,
Can we add one?
definitely.
To ensure that board staffing is adequate to maintain timely licensure. Whatever that is. If we want to set a number, we can, but whatever. What is it, 30 days?
She's 21. We have 30 days to do an initial review. We try to get people licensed within 30 days, but the last quarter we got that down to 21 days.
Okay. So if you just put the to maintain timely licensure under benefit, I think we're good.
Okay.
And we can define those numbers later.
Okay. Any feedback with our board members? Do I agree with this objective? And this is specific to the licensing unit?
Because we're having more and more licensees. There's a lot of growth right now, so I anticipate that they're going to need help.
Okay, and is ensure there the action verb that you're looking for? And I'm just pointing out the
Appropriate.
Yeah, I feel comfortable with that. Sometimes we like
Maintain board staffing, no, never mind, you've already maintained there, never mind. Maintain, provide adequate staffing.
So you just switch maintain and ensure, so put ensure,
Yeah.
ensure timely licensure?
Well,
It's just the word ensure opens, can you really ensure or guarantee that you're gonna have adequate?
To help ensure.
We wanna appropriate, we
How
wanna.
about,
help you.
how about
Yeah, I can ensure that.
monitor board staffing levels to maintain timely licensure? Provide for adequate board staffing.
Provide.
And ensure is a great word, and we just discourage the word ensure because the legality issue, or we're gonna make sure this is gonna happen, and it doesn't, then you didn't meet your objective.
Right,
in
that's
that
why we
sense.
usually say help ensure, so we soften it, so
Yeah.
it's not a guarantee.
Definitely. So you can monitor or help ensure, whichever you all feel comfortable using.
Monitor is fine,
Okay.
and then take adequate out of board staffing levels.
Okay. To maintain timely licensure. Okay. Okay. Any additional objectives? No? Shall we move forward to the next goal area? Last goal area?
Alright, you're on the home stretch, so, and you've already got a head start, you had 2 objectives already. Do you wanna keep the objectives that are listed there? And then do you need some time to review the environmental stand?
I don't have a badge, that's the issue. Even badges for board. On the board, I like having a badge. I don't understand.
Do we need timely and accurate in the second one? Because if it's monthly, it's timely, and you're not going to provide inaccurate budgetary information. So I don't know if you need those qualifiers in there.
Well, I think the board is a little frustrated with what they've been getting in terms of information, and it hasn't been. They haven't been able to feel like they could rely on some of the numbers, and that's the issue.
Okay.
And, it's the new computer system, and there's been a few hiccups. So.
Well, the board doesn't really provide that, we receive it.
That's correct, from the state, controller,
Request?
Yeah.
Okay, so instead of provide,
Yeah,
change it to
request, yeah, that's better.
And I think either monthly or timely, but not both, right? Which do you want?
Monthly.
Okay, maybe take timely.
And do you want it to say to make accurate or to make informed financial decisions?
I can live with informed.
Informed. Any other objectives?
I'm not sure what to put this order. Can we add, I'm not sure we put an administration or work enforcement or work or legislations or regulations. It's research some other areas where PAs can improve their practices. And one example is like this Verdi, now PAs of course will be allowed to bill under Medicare, but also PAs also they're not allowed to bill under some other medical insurances. They're not allowed to sign some common medical forms that we're supposed to be able to sign, and only MDs are allowed to sign some of the forms. So I don't know if we can find ways to petition on some of those areas where
I think that's workforce.
where PAs can improve their practices. I know CAPA is really engaged on this one, trying to find ways to improve on these areas, and they're supporting also some other organizations like APA, and that's why they were inside to Medicare. So now we're improving the area, but still there's many areas that we're still short on.
Okay. So the benefit would be to increase.
To improve PA practice mainly, and
Okay.
increase the
Delivery of healthcare services to the
Yes.
public.
Isn't that what OTP is?
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, it's
Pretty much what OTP is, right?
yeah, pretty similar, but it's still, I'm not sure if they're
To the public.
yeah, I'm not sure if they're if everything is related also with like medical forms and medical insurances. Like currently, I'm billing for a lot of my patients. I'm not allowed to bill for myself. I'm the one seeing the patient. I need to bill through my MD supervisor.
That's OTP then.
OTP too.
That's all part of OTP.
That was part of my report today. They're introduced the bill in Congress, and I'm a little bit concerned about, is this really consumer protection, which is what we're supposed to be about, and not practice.
Okay. So do you want to keep the objective, or do you want to?
I guess you already have it in some place about OTP. I'm not sure if everything is there. There you go. Second one.
So this covers your concern?
Well, I guess I need to review everything that OTP is going to be involved in into this.
Were you talking specific about forms though?
Well, it's forms, medical insurances, and we find a lot of issues all the time. It's like right now I'm sending patients to for nurses to go evaluate at in-home some of the patients, and I'm not allowed to sign those forms. I need to wait for my MD to come to the clinic and sign those forms.
I think that's one of the action items for OTP as well.
So any other objectives for administration?
When they did the audit, did they give you do you have an SOP for everything? Like, if you decide to retire tomorrow,
Yeah.
do not do that, we'll find you. Is there some process whereby here's everything Lynn does and how she does it? So there's some sort of institutional knowledge.
So it sounds like a procedure manual.
Yes.
Procedure manuals are being created, yes. There's not one for me, but the other girls have all got them written up pretty much.
So how would we put something in there for that?
Create
Great, yeah. Sounds like a succession plan then, maybe?
Yes.
succession plan for executive officer.
Yes.
To ensure smooth
Don't be
transitioning.
scared, guys.
You're joking. You know, that preserve institutional knowledge.
Or to preserve institutional knowledge.
Yeah, I like that.
To preserve institutional knowledge.
That's great.
Alright. Any other objectives? Alright. All right, do you want a quick 5-minute break or yes? Okay, all right, we'll take a quick 5-minute break. So basically 4:05.
Start? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So we've totaled 18 objectives. Thank you. So we have 3 objectives: licensure and professional qualifications, 3 in enforcement, 4 in communication and outreach, 2 in workforce, 3 in regulation and legislation, and 3 in administration, for a total of 18 objectives. Typically, strategic plans run 3 to 5 years, depending on the amount and complexity of the objectives. And this is a question for you board members about how many years, and about how many years do you think these objectives will take to accomplish? And consider some of the, if there's one specific objective that would be long term, you can always carry it over to the next strategic plan if necessary.
5 is good. I think in the past the policy was 4.
4.
That's quite a nice piece.
The last one was 4.
Yeah, last one was 4.
Fine with 5, what they are.
Does it have to align with our sunset review stuff or no?
No.
Five.
I would like to do 5.
Do you all agree on 5? And is that aligning with the sunset review? I mean, it's not required.
They don't have to have
They
it.
don't want to, right? 5 years for 18 objectives. And you can also, in the future, amend it if you want to cut it short, if you do complete those objectives within 5 years. And would you like at this moment to review the objectives that you've developed so far? You want to go through each goal area? Yes? Okay. So we'll go from the start. Workforce. Educate. Would you like me to read it off to you or read it in silence? I don't want to.
Who are we educating? The workforce?
We can identify. Is it a stakeholder workforce who will be educating about the optimal team practice?
Stakeholders and position and
Oh, stakeholders is nice because it includes everybody.
Yes.
Yeah. Love that.
Thank you. The benefit. Okay.
To the appropriately respond, I think is fine. We don't need to.
So remove the last portion of the sentence. Do you all agree with that? Yes? Okay. Shall we move forward to the next goal area? So that got combined. So legislation, regulation, and policy. We will spell out PAs in the strategic plan. Any refinements to any of these 3 objectives? Thank you, Lucy, for highlighting them as we read them.
I think just to implement legislation, I don't know if it needs some. Right, isn't
Yeah.
that what regulations do?
That is.
Concise. Shall we move forward? Communication and outreach. Is there more than one process?
You just put done like
Processes?
Only one license though, shouldn't it be processed, because there's only one license.
Okay, thank you. Any refinements? Thank you. It's just a second so we can copy it onto this new slide for you. And this was enforcement. Any refinements in any of the objectives? And just a quick question as a reader. The first objective, PA experts in the first line of enforcement, is that common knowledge that that would be the intake of the complaint? First line of enforcement? Investigation? Yeah.
you can, or make it just more general, evaluate the use of PA experts early in the enforcement investigation.
Okay.
Onset? At onset, At onset?
Well,
Should complete.
So we have onset, and then we have early on, early in the investigation, and the onset of the initial complaint.
Just take this out
No,
and leave it?
leave it.
yeah, onset. That's a little too specific. Like if you just say
Why do you
early
say
in
the beginning?
the beginning, yeah.
Okay. At the beginning of the enforcement investigation.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And to determine the validity of the complaint. Yes.
But that's what it should say, to meet timely enforcement instead of to timely make.
No refinements of the second one. The third one I heard as suggestion.
To switch make and timely.
To make time. Thank you. Any additional refinements for these objectives before we move forward? Thank you. We're moving the notes for action planning. So licensing and professional qualifications got grouped together.
Do you guys want anything in there about CMEs? Because that's why we removed professional qualifications to the licensing.
It's already in the rig.
Yeah, we're already
Right.
doing it. The last strategic plan had a thing in there about.
Oh,
doing it, but
okay,
we've done it
sorry.
now.
Okay.
Thank you. A question on the first objective, accepting electronic or digital signatures. Is that two type of different signatures?
Yes,
Yes, okay, electronic and,
a digital signature is a type of electronic signature,
Okay.
but it's not the only type of electronic signature.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, I wasn't aware. Any refinements to any of these objectives? Moving to the last goal area, administration. Separating from the NDC, is there another word for separating, just a more positive word? Sorry, that was just me being. Independent. Maybe not.
PA board as a standalone.
How about the feasibility of the PA board being more independent?
Becoming independent from the.
Becoming independent from the, okay.
Yeah.
Independent of, yes.
Independent board.
Independent board.
Yeah.
That way we don't point out the medical board.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. That's much better, yeah. That's much better.
Thank you. Sorry, I keep pointing these things
Oh,
out.
that's good, we don't want them to get angry. More angry than normal.
Does that sound, did it say request accurate monthly budgetary information or monthly accurate budgetary? Accurate monthly, right?
Thank you. Information report.
Information that comes in the report is kind of the same thing.
Okay. Thank you. Any refinement from this last objective?
Can we think a little bit more on the first one again, because you are an independent board, so maybe it's okay to put something about independent of the medical board.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just asking the board members.
The question is, are we actually independent board?
Yeah, we're not in.
We're not, because we rely on them for a bunch of stuff that we could do ourselves. Is that wrong?
Well, administratively, there could be some division and separation with respect to administration aspects of your program, like your investigations and cashiering and that sort of thing. But legally, you're still connected by way of the scope of practice issues. The medical board legally is authorized, has to authorize changes to scope of practice. So that is not independent. You can't be independent right now, anyway.
But that's what we want to get away from.
Correct. So that's my point,
That's what
is maybe you want to
OTT
explain a little more about what detail you're talking about there instead of, because otherwise, all your other decisions are independent right now.
Well, that's
Because like
what I'm
your
saying.
Your disciplinary cases are independent.
Yeah, when you look on
Other
the website, you're listed as a board.
Separate.
You're not like within the medical. I mean, you're on
You're
the
not
list of
included
boards
in
and
the
bureaus. Yeah.
So as we progress towards OTP.
Operationally independent
I like that,
of the
that's
medical
better,
board?
yeah.
Operationally, what do you think? Does
Just
that help?
more independent.
I want to.
Does that help?
I don't want them telling us we can't do it. We need to be independent of the medical board, completely.
Would operationally independent capture that?
Because legally, you are independent in many ways, like discipline cases. Your other regulations don't depend on them. Your
Right, but this
legislation
is-
positions don't depend on the medical board.
This is a future goal, we don't want to have anything to do with the medical board.
Right, I think we're just trying to clarify where you are and where you want to be, and that adding that some parts are independent right now and some parts are not.
Just for my clarity, where are we tethered? You said financially?
No, we're covered with any regulation that has scope of practice.
Scope of practice.
We can't implement.
Correct.
It has to go to the medical board. That's ridiculous. we
That's
should be
correct.
able to implement a regulation. It's gonna take statutory change,
Correct.
but it is a future goal. That's what OTP is all about.
Yeah.
No longer clinging to the medical board or vice versa, the medical board clinging to us. We can't make decisions on scope of practice.
So we could take operationally out as long as everybody understands that you are an independent board in many ways, but there's still some tethers.
Do we want to say completely independent?
Completely, okay. Completely independent, yeah. There you go.
Board members, do y'all agree?
To increase efficiency, improving scope of practice.
Well, it's really about efficiencies in terms of regulatory changes and all the things that we have to wait for.
Yeah.
So I don't know that,
Efficiencies of regulatory changes.
yeah, so that's why I said efficiencies, we don't have to put what kind, just
Yeah.
it's efficiencies.
Begin specifying, if you begin specifying the benefit, then you would have to specify the issues so it can kind of correlate. But I heard enhanced consumer protection. Would that be part of the benefit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
PAs are making decisions about PA scope of practice in the future.
Any additional refinements in this goal area? And you're also welcome to add additional objectives if you'd like. Moving forward.
I think it looks good.
Thank you. So we do have a total of 18 objectives. The plan is set for 5 years. And I will draft together a strategic plan based on all the objectives you all developed today. I'll provide Lynn with a copy of that draft. We'll email back and forth some edits and give you the final strategic plan will be provided to you during the next board meeting for approval and adoption. Somewhere in August 2018, I believe.
Question, will we leave our vision, mission statement, values the same, which are in our 2014?
If you would like, that's a decision that was made by you all.
I don't think we need to change.
What was the question?
Do we need to change our mission, vision, or values? You want a copy?
And definitely, what time is it? Mission, vision, and values, those activities take a little bit of time to actually redevelop, but we can take a look at them if you want to slightly redefine them. That is part of the strategic planning process. We do have 40 minutes, so if you want us to type it up here, if you wanted to take a look at it together. If someone wants to read it out loud as well.
I think we all read it.
Okay.
I don't like to recreate the wheel. The wheel that's been created is good, and I think we spent a lot of time on this 2014.
Definitely.
And it's appropriate to me, and somebody else has different thoughts.
Thank you. We do have the
And
opportunity.
it's not like we don't like to see you guys, that's not the point.
And action plan, so once the strategic plan has been approved or reviewed, edits if necessary, and approved during this next board meeting, we will offer action planning to the board. And then again, will we establish the specific tasks, the timeframes, the responsible parties, and the success measures. So that pretty much concludes our day here today. Do you have any questions for us? Yes.
Want to wish Justine a happy Labor Day. Welcome you, baby. Good luck.
Thank you so much. So I'll pass out some evaluation forms. Let us know how we did and what we can improve on. And here are names up here. My name is Elizabeth, Lucy, who helped us document everything, and Trisha.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Strong work.
That was great.
5 hours, 5 goals.
So we're still in session, please get your evaluation.
Hi, I just wanted to say hi. I'm Mary Mitchell.
Oh,
That's why you don't know. You didn't
I
realize
was, no, that's what I was right.
Nice to meet you.
Thank
We're on the call.
Yeah.
I know, that's why they call Mary.
That's a stupid question. Yes, yes.
Come on now.
So we're in trouble again.
Sure.
I knew as soon as we took a pose, Catherine was rolling over saying, you fool, you didn't learn anything.
You're right, we did.
Okay, so we're, I'm not gonna adjourn the meeting until we have completed the evaluations for the college people. We're holding you hostage. You can do yours. You don't get to leave until you.
don't need to. This is your strap plan, not mine.
Doesn't she have to approve it? So when will the medical board see that? Tomorrow? Jed and I are toast.
No, I think it'll be probably, you have to approve it formally, and you haven't yet. So
We've got 3 months left.
till August. You're gonna be meeting with them, well, no, is it next month? Or, no, next week.
Yeah. When we go.
You have body armor, right?
Yeah, I do actually.
Wear it.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we adjourned formally yet?
As soon as he.
No. Is there any further public comment? Issues from the board? Thank you, everybody, for our strategic planning. I think it went very well. We accomplished a lot. This meeting is adjourned.